tired. Yeah, she was. I do.
For 76 years, my grandparents dreamed and hoped of going back home, and they would go visit. These days, people don't even refer to Jaffa as Jaffa, they refer to it as Tel Aviv. And whenever I hear it, I wince a little because I can hear my grandpa talking about it and talking about the corner shops and the people living their lives side by side peacefully every day before the occupation started. Today, we join together to say that we refuse the occupation using our rights and our lives to justify their crimes against our people. We join here today to say no to pink washing and to say that it's not in our name. So thank you all for coming here and joining us. Does anyone want to speak? One thing is we'll have an open mic today, so everyone is welcome to speak. And the other thing is that we have a well-being wagon, so if anyone needs anything, please find the wagon. Thank you.
Hi everyone, make some noise! We are joined by the health block, so these are healthcare workers that will also be forming a block and joining the main march, so please make some noise for them. I would really love to invite you to please come and say whatever you like as well. More on the accessibility wagon, there's water, earplugs, chairs, first aid kit, masks. That's it. And first, there is a statement made by Queers in Palestine, which is a collective of queers in Palestine. And they named it a liberatory demand from queers in Palestine. I'm going to read it out to you. It was released in November 2023, but I think it's still as relevant today, if not more. We write this as workers, students, farmers, parents, as Palestinians, as queer Palestinians. We write this not because our queerness exceptionalizes our positions, but because in the same way we have been othered as queers. We are now facing patriarchal colonial tactics that seek to further alienate us as queer Palestinians. To gather our words and energies requires an enormous effort. We are sickened that amidst these moments of spectacular brutality and carnage projected onto Palestinian bodies, including rape, torture, mutilation, and maiming, we are diverted from grieving and organizing to make a demand. Since October 7th, we have been witnessing an accelerated genocide unfolding in the Gaza Strip and in all parts of Palestine, blatantly and publicly declared on numerous occasions by Israeli government and military figures. The brutality and lethal magnitude of the atrocities committed by the Israeli state and its supporters produce increasingly harrowing conditions for those who remain alive in Palestine, every day, everywhere. This brutality has been sustained through the continued economic, military, diplomatic, and political support of world leaders, historically and presently. We note, document, and narrate the hundreds of catastrophic massacres for the past 75 years at the hands of the annihilatory wrath of the Zionist regime, from Deir Yassin to the Tantura massacre in 1948, upon which Israel's foundation is based, to the Kafr Qasim massacre in 1956, to Sabra and Shatila in 1982. If you don't know already, please boycott Sabra hummus. Not only is it an Israeli produced, but it's named after a massacre. And this is just to name a few. There is no possibility of any liberatory political and social movement to achieve life and dignity if it's aligned with the genocidal death machine of Israel. Israel is founded on blood and is sustained through blood. During these times, and in line with its long-standing exploitation of liberal identity politics, Israel has been weaponizing queer bodies to counter any support for Palestine and any critique of its settler colonial project. Israelis, politicians, organizations, and quote-unquote civilians have been mobilizing colonial dichotomies, such as quote-unquote civilized and quote-unquote barbaric, quote-unquote human and quote-unquote animal. and other dehumanizing binaries as a discourse that legitimizes the attacks on Palestinians. Within the settler colonial rhetoric, Israel seeks to garner and mobilize support from Western governments and liberal societies by portraying itself as a nation that respects freedom, diversity, and human rights, that is fighting a quote-unquote monstrous and oppressive society, illuminated clearly through the declaration of Prime Minister of Israel, quote, "There is a struggle between the children of light and the children of darkness, between humanity and the law of the jungle," end quote. While these blatantly racist genocidal declarations take the stage, activists in Palestine and internationally are being silenced, harassed, detained, criminalized, workers fired from their jobs, and students suspended from universities. International feminist and queer activists in solidarity with Palestine are facing attacks and harassments by Zionists under the premise that those who support Palestine will be raped or beheaded by Palestinians for mainly being women and queers. Yet more often than not, rape and death are what Zionists wish upon queers and women who stand in solidarity with Palestine. Zionist fantasies of brutalized bodies do not surprise us, for we have experienced the reality of their manifestation on our skin and spirit. Yet they never cease to accelerate in their explicit vehemence. It becomes ever more absurd when such framings are constructed against Palestinian society in light of countless testimonies, reports, and documentations of sexual violence Palestinians have been facing throughout Israel's 75 years of military occupation. From the thousands of Palestinian prisoners, men and women who are subject to sexual torture and rape since Israel's inception to this very day, to daily escalating settler violence against Palestinians in the West Bank, to Israeli quote-unquote civilians filming themselves torturing kidnapped Palestinians as a TikTok trend, and the most recent harrowing footage published on social media platforms by Israeli soldiers which document the lengths of torture and sexual abuse soldiers and settlers inflict on our bodies regardless of their sexual orientation and gender. All forms of violence, including sexual violence, are systemically and structurally part of Zionist domination over Palestinian life. And yet Israeli society continues to weaponize queerness for the purposes of justifying war and colonial repression, as if their bombs, apartheid walls, guns, knives, and bulldozers are selective of who they harm based on sexuality and gender. We refuse the instrumentalization of our queerness, our bodies, and the violence we face as queer people to demonize and dehumanize our communities, especially in service of imperial and genocidal acts. We refuse that Palestinian sexuality and Palestinian attitudes towards diverse sexualities become parameters for assigning humanity to any colonized society. We deserve life because we are human, with a multitude of our imperfections, and not because of our proximity to colonial modes of liberal humanity. We refuse colonial and imperialist tactics that seek to alienate us from our society and alienate our society from us on the basis of our queerness. We are fighting interconnected systems of oppression, including patriarchy and capitalism, and our dreams of autonomy, community, and liberation are inherently tied to our desire for self-determination. No queer liberation can be achieved with settler colonialism, and no queer solidarity can be fostered if it stands blind to the racialized, capitalist, fascist, and imperial structures that dominate us. We call on queer and feminist activists and groups around the world to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people in their resistance to displacement, land theft, and ethnic cleansing, and their struggle for the liberation of their lands and futures from Zionist settler colonialism. This call cannot be answered only by sharing statements and signing letters, but by an active engagement with decolonial and liberatory struggles in Palestine around the globe. Our unequivocal demands are as follows. Reject Israeli funding, refuse collaborations with all Israeli institutions, and join the BDS movement. Strike, silently or publicly. Refuse that your exploited labor be used for the silencing of Palestine activism or the funding, support, and endorsement of military settler colonialism and genocide. Do what anti-colonial queers have done for decades. Reclaim the narrative and set the terms of the conversation, this time about Palestine. What is happening in Palestine is genocide. Israel is a settler colony. Palestinians are a militarily occupied and colonized society. Under international law, Israel does not have the right to quote-unquote defend itself against the population it occupies, while Palestinians have the right to resist their occupation. Demand ceasefire is the first step in holding Israel accountable for its crimes against humanity. We must also demand to break the siege on Gaza and the dismantlement of the Zionist settler colony. I'm going off script to say that we also need to demand sanctions against the Israeli state. This was published in November, and a ceasefire is not enough. There needs to be sanctions. Contact your local representatives to pressure them into defunding the genocide, ending their military, diplomatic and political support with Israel. Speak up against the ongoing and complicit criminalization of solidarity with Palestine and the colonial and Islamophobic projection of European anti-Semitism on Palestinian and racialized voices, as we are witnessing particularly in France, the UK, the US and Germany. Shut down main streets, organize a sit-in in your local central station, interrupt the flow of commerce. Complacency is a choice. We queer Palestinians are an integral part of our society, and we are informing you from the heavily militarized alleys of Jerusalem to Hawara's scorched lands to Yafa's surveilled streets and cutting across Gaza's besieging walls. From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
If you want to read this statement again, it can be found in the Queers in Palestine Instagram page. I will now let the mic go. Anyone who would like to come here, share words, poetry, shout outs, whatever you want, please come and take the mic from me.
Hi everyone, I want to thank the organisers for giving me a chance to speak to you today. I know a lot of people are going to want to speak, so I'm going to keep this quick as possible. Okay, so yeah, before I begin my talk, I just want to check one thing quickly. So if we've got any students at University of South Wales, any alumni, or even just the friends of someone studying there, could you please shout Free Palestine for me? Free Palestine! Fuck yes. Alright, so I'm glad to have some of you in attendance, but that means I have some very sad news for you all today. So I want to bring your attention to two of the university's ongoing business relationships with Airbus and the French company Thales. Both of these companies are directly supporting the IDF by helping to create and maintain the drones that have now killed thousands of Palestinian people. So if you are a student, have been a student, or even ever bought something from one of their cafeterias or shops, there's a good chance your money has gone to the ongoing genocide. If you're angry about this, you're far from alone. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of the socialist students, and I'm part of an ongoing campaign to gauge interest and organise setting up a student encampment on the Treforest campus of USW, similar to the one set up at Cardiff Uni. Our first day, we spoke with students on the campus who, upon learning where their money has been going, expressed eagerness to be involved with our campaign. In just 30 minutes, we received over a dozen names. However, the response was not entirely positive, as after that 30 minutes, we were met with campus security who trespassed us from the property. We were told in no uncertain terms that they would not be allowing anybody, students or otherwise, to carry out any form of protest on university property. We took this as a challenge and only made us more determined to continue. Yesterday, we stood outside the university gates on a public street and continued to receive names from interesting parties. Security again noticed us, and this time sent a member of their team without his high-vis jacket in a pathetic attempt to disguise himself as an innocent onlooker. When we did not acknowledge him or speak to him, he moved to intimidating us, demanding to know how long we had been stood outside. When we didn't tell, he left after an anonymous comment that we'll find out either way. Not only is this behaviour vile, it is attempting to stop students from expressing their right to protest. Liberty recently posted an article online stating that students attending a university have every right to protest on the campus of a public university like USW. So I have a message for police, security, and any other person trying to crush lawful protests against the genocide of the Palestinian people. It has not and will not work, because the absolute worst of what you can do to us is nothing compared to the daily horrors experienced by the Palestinian people. If you are a student at USW, especially on the Treforest campus, and you aren't happy with what I have told you today, I implore you to seek me out and to join our efforts. If you attend a university and you're not happy with their response to this genocide, organise and demonstrate against it. The mass killing of Palestinian people won't end once we end this demo today, so neither should your advocacy against it. Thank you, everyone.
Just a quick thing, this is a community effort, so repeat after me. There are no organizers.
There are no organizers.
Thank you.
Hands up, how? Can you all hear me, just to check?
Yeah!
Fabulous. So last week at Chapter, a group of us, as part of Queer Artists for a Free Palestine, held an alternative to Eurovision event as our way of boycotting the Eurovision Song Contest. I gave a version of this speech on the night, so apologies if you already heard this. I thought I'd share it here because, well, the show is now disgracefully over. Hopefully bits of this is still relevant to our cause and our intentions as Cymru Queers for Palestine. So why did we boycott Eurovision? Because the Palestinian people made a simple, easily achievable request to us. They asked us not to watch the Eurovision Song Contest because it allows the occupying colonizer states known as Israel to compete and be given the chance to falsely represent themselves as a civilized, democratic, peaceful European nation. The European Broadcasting Union wanted this show to go on as if nothing is happening, and all Palestinians asked is that we didn't ignore reality. If we can't fulfill this very basic request, then what are we even good for? Well, as the past several months have demonstrated, despite the best efforts of all the genocidal monsters across the world, people of conscience have gotten pretty good at saying, no, we will not go along with this. So, from Eurovision and here on out, we are here to resist. We are here to say a big fat clear no to art washing. We are here to say emphatically, fuck you to pink washing. We are here to say that there can be no party while a genocide is happening. We say we will not go along with their normalisation, their tepid pleas for peace and unity. We reject the hypocrisy and complacency of the European Broadcasting Union. They're tacky and we hate them. To those who insist on the unifying power of music, we invite you to explain how exactly people can be united through a contest when the occupying force is invited to the party, but the people they are occupying are not. We refuse to allow them to insult our intelligence by claiming that their contest is apolitical, and we dare anyone to try to tell us that art is apolitical. How can music possibly be apolitical when Zionist settlers held a festival directly outside of a concentration camp filled with refugees and 1 million children? How can it be politically neutral to dance on ethnically cleansed land? If there is nothing political going on, then why did the attendees of that desert rave retroactively claim that it was actually intended to be a peace festival? Luckily, Palestinian poet Marwan Makhoul has already provided us with the perfect artistic rebuttal to this nonsense claim. In order for me to write poetry that isn't political, I must listen to the birds. And in order to hear the birds, the warplanes must be silent. So, from the Mediterranean Sea to the Jordan River, Palestine will live forever. First ceasefire, then end the occupation, then land back. then reparations. We will not stop, we will not rest until colonialism in all its forms is no more. From Gaza to Goma to Darfur, from Turtle Island to Aotearoa, indigenous peoples will hear the birds sing. Fuck Israel, free Palestine.
Hi, those of you that know me, you know that I don't write speeches. I kind of just go with what I feel. And these past few weeks, months, the things I and other members of the queer and trans community have felt have, well, it's been hard to put words to them. I don't want to say much. I just want to say to those members of the queer community who think that this isn't our fight, the queer community is not a stranger to being silenced. The queer community is not a stranger to state violence. From the AIDS crisis to Section 28 to the current so-called debate on trans identities, we know what it's like when a government and society is trying to repress and silence and take away our rights. When I see Palestinian families on TikTok asking for donations to GoFundMes, in their eyes I see the same fear that queer and trans people have here when we make our GoFundMes and rely on our mutual community support to be able to live happily and freely. And so I ask that other members of the queer community see that and understand that community mutual aid and taking part in initiatives to give back and help and support these families who are trying desperately to get out of the Gaza Strip and have some form of safety and life, and to see that that in and of itself is an act of queer liberation. And so I'd like to call attention to, and I'm sure many of you know, Operation Olive Branch, online, all of the GoFundMes. I'd also like to call attention to Kutches to Gaza, who are here right now. Please go and talk to them. Please donate any money you can, raise awareness, because as we have seen before in this government and in this day and age and in this Western colonial society, the only people that are going to help us are us. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Thank you.
Hello, I am also from the student encampment outside of Cardiff University. We've been going since Tuesday and we hope to go a lot longer, seeing as our university is not really listening to us and our demands. But today we are inviting the community to come to the encampment and partake in events such as crafts and enjoy free food and music and come together as a community. The main march, I think, will be marching towards the encampment later, but if you are not there, we will still welcome you at any point in our entire time there. We really do appreciate everything the community has done for us, whether it's food, donations, tents, just turning up and talking to us. It has been so amazing and reassuring to know that we have the communities of Cardiff behind us. Thank you.
So just before we start marching, I'm going to do a quick mic check. So as I said earlier, we have no organizers. This is a community effort. For those of you that didn't join us earlier, there's a well-being wagon here. We have first aid trained people with us. We have water and cups and 4 camping chairs. Please help yourself. We also have earplugs in the small Tesco bag. I know that shouting and chanting is overwhelming for a lot of people, so if anything on the wagon will make you more comfortable, please help yourself and return it to the wagon, except for the earplugs, don't return them. Avoid identifying yourself to anyone. You do not have to give your name and details to anyone. If you're approached by the police, say no comment. Do not react to provocations or threats. Stand firm and be calm with members of the public, security guards, and the police. No incitement or aggression through speech or action in any form. If a member of the public or anyone else harasses you, do not engage and do not escalate. Know your rights, so no comment, you do not need to answer police questions. No personal details, you do not have to, wait, sorry, I'm doing this wrong. No comment!
No comment!
No personal details!
No personal details!
You do not, don't repeat after me when I'm doing the long sentences. You do not have to give personal details under any stop and search power, so don't. Under what power?
Under what power?
Ask under what power to challenge the police to act lawfully. In the unlikely event of an arrest, this is our legal right, so there shouldn't be any arrests, but in the unlikely event of one, no duty solicitor.
No duty solicitor!
Use a recommended solicitor, such as Hodge, Allen, and Jones. When we join the main rally, there will be legal observers there, so please get a bus card from them. No caution.
No caution!
Do not accept cautions from the police. They are admissions of guilt. Cool. So, sorry. Right.